Hello friends, and welcome to part 10 of the Dynamic Window Blueprint tutorial series. As I mentioned in the first video, this will be the last core video of this series, but I may circle back later on and add more videos if a need arises, then some new functionality that maybe I didn't consider. And as I mentioned in the end of the last video, we're going to be working on the Z order for our window. And what does that mean? Well, if you go over to our HUD and we go to our designer, we have our one window here. I'm just going to collapse it. So there's our window. Something I didn't point out before, you want to make sure you leave the canvas panel in the top left corner, and the window itself will be what gets resized. That's our vertical box. And if we scroll down and grab another dynamic window and drop it onto the canvas, and I'll go ahead and select it, and you can see it popped up at our default coordinates of 100, 100 that we set up a while back, and it's got a size of 400 by 400. Now currently it is over top of our first window. That's just because it's below the window in the tree here. If we grab this one and drag it up, now our original first window is over top of our new window. Now something else we can do is change the Z order. So like we could go back to our new window here, change the Z order to, let's just, a higher number, 5. And since it has a number of 5 for the Z order, and our other window has a 0, it will draw the higher number over top of the lower number. But the problem is, these values, you have to set them now and then you're done. You can't change them later while the game's running. So I'm going to go ahead and just set this back to 0. And we'll just rearrange these the way they were. And let's head back over to our dynamic window. And if we scroll up, we're going to create a new function called BringToFront. Now we're not going to need any input variables for this, but this is how this is going to work. Since the last thing to be created is what appears on top, what if we, being the window, were to remove ourselves from the list and then re-add ourselves? Well, it can be done. If we call getParent, we now have a reference to our parent. So the dynamic Windows parent would be the HUD. And if we choose remove from parent, we have a way to remove ourselves from the tree structure or from the HUD. And then if we call the parents add child, we could pass ourself to re-add ourselves to the parent, which is the HUD. The problem is this gets called when it's needed. So if we remove ourselves first and then try to add ourselves using our getParent, this gets called after we've already removed ourselves, so the HUD is no longer our parent. So instead, let's move these over here. Let's promote this to a variable. We'll call it parent window. We'll go ahead and hook this up here at the beginning so that we save the reference to our parent. Then we can remove ourselves. And instead of calling off of this node, the getParent node, we actually want to use the variable that we saved. Whenever we call BringToFront, it's going to save the parent, it's going to remove us from the parent, and then it's going to re-add us using that saved variable. So let's go ahead and compile and save. I'm going to switch back to the designer. So we want to bring the window to the front whenever we click on the title bar or any of the resize borders or in the content area. So let's do the title bar first. Let's go to our event graph. And if we go to our move window code, I'm actually going to stretch this out and move that over some. So we're just going to call BringToFront. Actually, I'm going to tack it onto the end. BringToFront. So if we compile, save, press play, we have our two windows. If I click the title bar, it brings it to the front. If I click the other title bar, it brings it to the front. And now if I try to resize, obviously it doesn't work. Or if I click in the content area, it doesn't work. Let's do the resize next. Now all of our resize functions are getting fed into begin resize. So let's go into begin resize and we'll just tack it onto the end here as well. BringToFront. Compile, save, press play. Now if I try to resize the background window, it brings it to the front. Great. So let's escape out. And then back in our event graph. Actually, so the last one is the content area. So what we're going to do is override mouse button down in our dynamic window. We don't care about coordinates or anything. We are going to call BringToFront. And again, if you try to compile, it's going to say it needs a return value for handled. We're just going to return, actually we're going to return unhandled because we don't want to steal the message and then if you have your own widgets inside that window, have those not receive the messages. So we're just going to bring it to the front and step out of the way and let the message chain continue on its own. So now if we compile, save, and press play, we click in the content area, it brings it to the front, resize, moving the window. Awesome. All right. Now there is actually one more thing we should probably add before we wrap this up. We added our window icon previously to our title bar, but we really never created a way to change the icon, so it's always Unreal 4's logo right now. So let's do this. Let's go into our event graph and we're going to add a function. And we'll call it SetWindowIcon. And then we're going to grab our image window icon, drag it onto the graph. And we're going to call SetBrushFromTexture. And these are the same textures that you see over in the details panel. Go ahead and hook it up. And we're not going to set it here, but we are going to drag it onto our SetWindowIcon function to make it an input parameter. Let's go ahead and compile and save and go back to our dynamic window. And we're going to add a new variable. We'll call it WindowIcon. And this is not a vector 2D, it is a texture 2D. And we will set that to instance editable and expose on spawn. And we want to compile and save and scroll down. We're going to set a default. We always want to at least have something for an icon, so we'll just set this to UE for logo. And since it's instance editable and expose on spawn, we can override that. So if we go back to our event graph, go to our pre-constructor, we can grab our title bar, which actually we already have one here. Call SetWindowIcon. Hook it up, and we'll pass in our window icon. And compile and save. And now if we go back to our HUD and click on one of the windows, we should be able to change the logo to something completely different. We'll just hit the play button. And that's our window 1. So I'm going to press compile and play, and we'll just take a look. And there's our play button. And then if you wanted to, you could click your other window and pick a completely different icon. And just do the grid. Compile, save, press play, and it has the grid. And that's pretty much it. So I think that about does it for this 10-part tutorial series. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments section below. I do work a lot of overtime, so I may not be able to answer all of the comments, but hopefully other people can dive in and share their knowledge as well. If anyone found this information useful or helpful in any way, and you'd like to support this channel by helping me chop down my mortgage tree, I will leave a link in the description below. And as I mentioned previously, I am considering doing another 10-part, well, I don't know if it'll be 10-part, but another series on converting this project to C++, which would basically eliminate all of the blueprint nodes that we created and stash that away in C++, which would also make it run faster. Not that we need that here. You're not really needing a lot of performance when you're just moving and resizing a window, but it can help you clean up the code and make it look neat and organized, and make room for other additions that you might want to add on later on. So definitely share this playlist with others if you think it would be helpful, and don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, do all the things, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.